On this special edition of Power Play, we bring in the front bench for the whole hour to break down the political performances of our leaders, the plays and misplays of the year. And let's get right to it. Category is grading our political leaders. Who gets an A? Does anyone get an F? Our Friday front bench is here. There are red pens at the ready to start marking our politicians and their performances. Let's bring them in. Sabrina Grover, a federal Liberal candidate in the 2021 election. She's now a principal at Shakti Strategies. Melanie Paradis, the communications director for former Conservative leader Erin O'Toole, nowadays president of Texture Communications. Jagmeet Singh is the former Ontario NDP MPP. There he is, nowadays vice president at Crestview Strategy, also the brother of federal NDP leader Jagmeet Singh, and the one and only Rachel Aiello, our senior digital parliamentary correspondent here at CTV News. And let's start with the man at the top, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, well into his third mandate. 8+ years on the job. Is the shine coming off, so to speak? As they have put it, Trudeau fatigue, facing a cost of living crisis, foreign interference allegations, and a new Conservative challenger. Justin Trudeau and his party saw a stark drop in their polling numbers over the summer and fall. So how did he handle those challenges? And is he still able to connect to Canadians? How do you reset, refresh, and rethink after so long in power? We're going to get to our front bench grades and a quick reminder to all of our lovely guests, because this is an all-panel show, we need everybody to be concise, speedy in their answers so we can get to everyone and be nice, polite Canadians. No Shakespearean soliloquies. We'll leave that to the politicians who do it so well. Melanie, I'm going to start with you on this one. Justin Trudeau, what do you think?
So I'm grading him a C-, and that's largely because he's been, for the first time, a drag on the Liberal brand. The polling has been just devastating for him and for his government. His climate policies have all started to unravel in the courts. But the one reason why I am not giving him a failing grade at a C- is because he has been steadfast in his support for Ukraine, and I think that's really important. So I hope he keeps that up. Although I am watching in 2024 on Israel to see if he shores up his support there, because it's been floundering a bit.
There we go. More generous than I thought you would be. How about you, Garadan?
I'll give him a B-, and the reason why is because despite the really low polling numbers, despite the fact that he is facing a lot of dislike and a lot of opposition across the country, he has been pushed and supported and kept his word for the supply confidence agreement, and that has allowed $18 billion come forward with respect to dental care. So, because of the NDP, I'm giving him a B-.
All right, B-. How about you, Rachel? Your take, watching everything from Parliament. What do you think?
So I was feeling, I guess, maybe a bit more generous today. I gave him a B-, hovering, depending on the day, C+, B- territory. I think, as others have noticed, it was a challenging year for Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. There were some real lows, but also a couple highs. And so I'm putting him right in the lower grade of the B territory, just because of, as other people have noted, the challenges he's faced this year in terms of his own popularity, maintaining confidence within his caucus, and having a hard time really nailing his message with Canadians. But I do think there have been little bright spots or moments where you're kind of like, oh, they're getting it together. And so I'm curious to see, heading into 2024, with this new marketing guru that they've hired, whether there's going to be room to improve that grade.
It's interesting too, Garadan, back to you. You're giving him a B-, that, that's not terrible considering he's been in power for more than 8 years.
Yeah, well, the big part of it is that I actually think that the terms laid out in the supply confidence agreement have actually put forth some, like, the largest expansion of healthcare in recent history. We're seeing anti-scab legislation, albeit, obviously, these are terms that the NDP pushed him towards, but he has fulfilled them. And those are important things to take note of.
Yeah, and back to you, Mel, you're giving him a C-. Your read on why many people on the Conservative side of things would be giving him a flat-out F for fail.
Well, I would be giving him a harsher grade, but I'm grading on a bell curve here since we're in Ontario, and I have not as generous a grading for Jagmeet Singh. So it's only fair, I guess, that I be a bit more gentle on his grading this time.
Yeah, back to you, Rachel Aiello. This is a tricky spot for the Prime Minister right now after being in power for as long as he is. How do you turn those letter grades around? Nobody has given him an A yet.
Not this year, and I'm not sure you would find, even if a Liberal would give him that because of the year that we've had. I think it's been a mix for Justin Trudeau of international world events kind of playing into the policies and focuses he may have wanted, and then facing now off of a strong official opposition leader, really trying to find a way to reframe his message, because you know that after 8 years, we're hearing it in pretty much every time a Conservative rises in the House of Commons. So coming forward into 2024, they're going to have to think about how to shape that message and pitch themselves to Canadians in a positive light of what they've accomplished in those 8 years, and not all of the down and dour things that his critics are talking about.
All right, let's bring in our Liberal. Sabrina Grover is joining us from Calgary. Sabrina, your read on this. So we have a B-, another B-, and a C- so far for Justin Trudeau. You are the Liberal with us. What's your letter grade for the Prime Minister?
I mean, you heard Rachel say it there. I'm not in the A's yet, but I would give him a B+. I think, you know, overall, this is an evaluation of Justin Trudeau versus the Liberal caucus. I think the Liberal caucus maybe has had some interesting times this year, which we'll hear about later. But, you know, I think he's managed this year well. He had some wins that I think were underrated and maybe not talked about. On the India file, I think that coming through with the United States was really positive for him. We've seen that uptick over the last couple of weeks in polling. So I think overall he's maintained a really steady hand at leadership over this last year, including getting through some of the challenges that some of the caucus members have presented.
All right, so our Liberal gives the Prime Minister a B+ and hoping he can get back into the A category in the next year. So let's move on to Conservative challenger Pierre Poilievre. Of course, doing very well in the polls. He wins the leadership of the party in 2022. Spent most of this year very much on strict message discipline. You know, he focused on pocketbook issues, cost of living, groceries, inflation, housing, and the carbon tax. Axe the tax, there it is. A focus that really appears to be resonating with Canadians. The Conservatives right now, have a double-digit lead in public opinion polls. But recent data just out this week shows it could be narrowing. So how successful was Pierre Poilievre's first year on the job? Sabrina, let's start with you again. What do you think? What's his letter grade?
Still in the B's. I'm going to give him a B- this year. I think he obviously had a very strong year, good fundraising, good message discipline, but there's starting to be some cracks in that rebrand for Pierre, and I'm looking forward to what 2024 holds for him on that self-indulgent tour.
Heyden Singh, what do you think?
You know, I'll preface it with some context first. I really do think that some of the language and positions that the leader of the opposition has put forward, his unscientific stance, his pandering to the extreme far right, all of this I think is really concerning for the way politics are being done in Canada. And it's really, I think, a lot of importation of American style politics in Canada. I don't find it very Canadian. And for me, because of that, I'm giving him an F.
An F, all right, okay. Melanie, what do you think? Melanie Paradis for Pierre Poilievre, what's your letter grade?
I'm giving him an A-. It would be a solid A because he has had a near perfect game all year. He's done an incredible job staying on message. He's way up in the polls. But those votes against funding for Ukraine over the past 2 weeks, I know that they're related to the carbon tax. I don't think that the average Canadian does. And while their messaging has been really flawless, it's really hard to square those votes, and so that's the only reason why I'm docketing him a little bit.
It is true, Rachel Aiello, that Pierre Poilievre has had a great year up until the last month or so, when there were some mishaps and gaffes and stumbles. A lot of it self-inflicted. Your take on the letter grade that the leader of the Conservatives should get?
Yeah, I'm going to give him a B+, but if I was a teacher, this would be one of those moments where you're checking in, being like, the last couple of weeks have been kind of weird. Like, are you okay? Because I do think he has had quite a strong year. Obviously, the polling numbers show that as well. He came out of the gate after winning the leadership, really on a clear message and doing, as others have noted, that softening of his image. And I think that was quite effective. Now, I do wonder if what we've seen in the last couple of weeks is them playing with the amount of lead they have in the polls, trying to see if they could go back to a bit more of, I think, where he is more comfortable in that attack style, watchdoggy kind of politician vein to see if he can get more back into that and still maintain a lead, or if what we've seen in the last couple of weeks in the House is too far for Canadians and they're going to have to moderate back when they return in January. We'll have to see.
Okay, last but not least, Leader of the New Democrats, Jagmeet Singh, spent a lot of the year highlighting gains that he got through his deal with the Liberal minority government, a deal that's seeing, of course, the NDP prop up the Liberals. Although as Liberal popularity has plummeted, the NDP under increasing fire by the Conservatives, who accuse them of being the junior partner in the Liberal government. A big highlight, though, announced earlier this month, just a couple of days ago, the National Dental Care Plan. That's a big coup for the NDP. So are they the power brokers here, or do the Liberals steal the spotlight when it comes to big announcements like dental care? And does the NDP risk losing its own voters who might see the party as too close to Trudeau? Let's get to our grades for Jagmeet Singh. And of course, full disclosure, Garatin is Jagmeet Singh's brother, so we're going to skip his grading. We'll say it's probably an A++++. Okay, Rachel Aiello.
Can I add in 4 or 5 more pluses to that?
Rachel Aiello, start this off here. Jagmeet Singh, the kind of year he's had, his letter grade as leader.
I'm giving him a flat B. I kind of think Jagmeet Singh's performance has been consistent, steady, but I wouldn't say overly stellar or overly at issue. I think he was consistent this year, and so that's why I'm kind of sitting him there in that B. It was a good year in some gains they made, the anti-scab legislation, obviously seeing dental care come through, but anyone trying to sell this pharmacare extension as a real win, I don't know if I fully buy that. Certainly if this is going to mean a better, stronger bill, if the NDP have been able to negotiate that, then certainly it would be a win. But we're going to have to kind of wait on that file to see. And then it's just kind of this continual dogging from the Conservatives of, this Liberal NDP coalition. Obviously, it's not a coalition, but that wording has really stuck and they're kind of hitched their wagon to the Liberals. So there's been some blowback, I think, for Mr. Singh because of that.
To you, Melanie, and Garatin knows this well, it's very tricky for Jagmeet Singh to sort of thread the needle. On the one hand, trying to call the government to account as a member of the, the opposition. On the other hand, having this deal and, getting some tangible results like the dental care plan. What do you think? How has he done?
I think that the confidence and supply agreement made sense in the short term. At this point, it is long past its best before date, and it should have ended long ago. Even Ed Broadbent is saying that it's gone on too long. I think that Mr. Singh has seen very flat numbers in terms of his personal polling, which is strange for the leader of the NDP. Past leaders like Jack Layton would always just be off the charts in terms of his personal likability and his resonance with Canadians. And I think that Jagmeet Singh definitely needs to step up his game in that regard in 2024. I'm hoping that maybe he'll go on a tour with the new baby. Congratulations, by the way. He and his wife welcomed their second child earlier this week, and that certainly deserves a shout out, even as I'm grading him with an F. But yeah, I think that the confidence and supply agreement and continuing to shore up this Liberal government is not working well for Jagmeet Singh, and he really needs to make a change in 2024.
Sabrina, your read.
I'm giving him a D. I think that there are a lot of things that came out of the confidence and supply agreement, and I think that the NDP has not really been able to capitalize on any of that or take credit on it. And so I think, as Mel pointed out, I think his personal poll numbers as well as the party's poll numbers have remained steady, regardless of what's happening in the polls. Other sides, there haven't been gains made by the NDP. I think their fundraising has remained lackluster. And I haven't seen, the leader Jagmeet come out strong on a lot of things. I think sometimes we hear about the confidence supply agreement, but everything that has come out of it, the Liberals have taken credit for. And I think they've kind of given some nods to the NDP, but certainly not in a way that's improved Jagmeet's standing.
And Garatin, congratulations on being an uncle again.
Uncle times 2.